Hello, friends. Welcome back to Amanda's Bookish Adventures. It is day 19 of Bookmas, and it is my November wrap up. So, there will not be a wrap up for December. I will have it up in January, but some of the things I will read in December will be in vlogs that I have not finished. So, there is that. So, in the month of November, I read only 2 physical books, but the rest digital. So, I've read 10 things. I didn't do the count yet, so not bad. The lowest thing I gave was 3 stars. The rest have been majority 5 to 4 stars. So I think that's a good ratio for the month of November. We're going to talk about the 2 physical books first, and then we will go with digital. So this was sort of digital and physical. I got the full cast narration for Corrupt Shadows by C.M. Hutton and Rebecca L. Garcia. This was a Kickstarter exclusive. I wanted to finish it and get started. I'm actually really surprised this doesn't have the description. Alright. So we have Evie, who is running from a bad past. She's basically hiding who she is. She likes dark things. She is a witch, and her magic is more leans towards the darker side of magic. Evie has been on the run since she's been 18 years old, so she doesn't use her magic. It's slowly draining her body. It's making her sick. She doesn't realize that. Lorcan is a demon trapped in the mirror realm. Sort of. I don't think it's the mirror realm. They had a name, but it's been a while since I read it. And Lorcan, the only way he can get out of the mirror realm is with Evie's help and for her to use her magic. And it is their story. There are amazing side characters, but Lorcan, the audiobook is the way to go. It was so fun to listen to. But Lorcan is a son of Lucifer, and he was bound by Evie's coven into that realm. So she's the only one who can get him out. It is their relationship as he basically stalks and torments her and tries to corrupt her to come to his side so he can use her. It is their romance and brilliant writing. It was gothic, it was very witchy, amazing. I know I'm not doing it justice, but I can read some of what this says. Welcome to the Shadow Realm. That's the realm, little witch. And then on the back, he looks into my eyes as if he can sense every dark thoughts. But unlike others, he doesn't see a monster. He sees something beautiful, and that's something more terrifying. It is such a pretty edition, and I got the second edition off Kickstarter. They haven't released an audiobook for it, so I don't know if I might wait till the audiobooks to be released because it was so brilliant, and I read both. But mostly I listened to the audiobook while I worked, but I loved it, and I highly recommend reading this even without the audiobook. It's an amazing story, but that audio full class narration, brilliant. The shortest thing I've read this month is a novella of 82 pages. So I'm only going to read the back and talk about a little bit about it because it's a short novella. This guy sure looks like plant food to me. I've given her sunshine, I've given her blood. She's given me much more than I've ever deserved. I'm begging her sweetly, I'm down on my knees. Oh, please kill for me. So the 2 characters are named Runa and America, and Runa is a witch who has a shop. It's kind of based off the novella. I think it's the Shop of Horrors. She somehow gets this plant, the carnicinate Venus flytrap. That's the plant, and it protects her. It loves her, but it is sick, and that's how she meets America, who's a botanist, kind of on the run. Not on the run, but trying to use her degree. And it's their romance. It is funny, it is sweet, and I gave it 4 stars. I cannot believe. It is a signed edition, which I am glad I read. These are both signed editions. I just have not put the book plate in this one because I rather get the author to sign it because I know I won't be able to put it in without like shaking. And I don't want to destroy a page because it was such a pretty edition. And I had a good time with both these books. So we had that's 1 5 star, 1 4 star. I am sad this wasn't longer. It was brilliant because I knew it was a novella going in. Sad it wasn't longer. Still had a great time. Now, let's go to the digital portion of this wrap up. So I finished book 3, if you've seen yesterday's vlog, basically, even though the last book will be next month, but I finished book 3 and book 4 of the Deep Waters series, Echoes of the Tide. Asa spent her entire life hiding who she was. First, it was from friends and family who didn't know she was stealing from the rich. Then it was hiding her true self in a prison city under the water. The worst was hiding herself from the new friends who helped destroy Alpha. What she didn't know was that this decision would force her to come into the light. Mercedes has always been the jokester. No one takes him seriously. If they do, it's only because he was born violent. But he starts talking with a human through droids and he finds a kindred spirit in them. When he's given an opportunity to find out who this human really is, he takes it. But when he finds in the prison city, it's not the person he was friends with. He finds a villainous group of people who wishes to use him to their advantage, and a woman who captivates his entire soul. Together they travel through the remains of Gamma, a city long forgotten, and while they search for a key, of course the screen had to go black, and while they search for a key that will change how they see the entire world underneath the ocean, they find themselves growing closer. Soon enough, they realize that perhaps hiding their entire lives has prevented them from experiencing the greatest part of life. So, because you've seen the vlog yesterday on the 18th of December, I won't go much into it. But Mercedes and Ace, I think Emma Ham has done brilliant in this series. They all connect, and in book 2 of the series, Mercedes, even though he's been from book 1, he's basically been like the trouble funny maker dude since the first book. And Udines are very violent. The female Udines can kill a male while breeding with them. So they risk if the male's too big, they still can die. So the females kind of avoid them, which is kind of previous to the other Udines. Mercedes is small enough he could get, but because of his coloring, they avoid him because gold is an unlucky color in their culture, which is funny that it's unlucky, but it's very intriguing, and so it's made him distracted. He knew he was never going to have kids, he was never going to be in a relationship. He meets Ace in the second book at side, it's not even their story, but they become friends, and Ace is struggling to she's been trying to change this society since book 1. You don't meet her till book 2, somewhat. You don't physically meet her until the third book, this book. Sorry, I just finished book 4 too, so I'm trying to keep things flat. Because her sister was always referred as the beautiful one, she's always hidden herself. But she's wanting to fix this corrupt society. She's wanting to protect everything they've built on such a fragile thing with the Udines and the humans. So it was very interesting to be in their heads, and I gave it a 5 star, and I loved it. I will have to say this series, and I do say in the vlog, has become my #1 series that I've ever read. So the fourth book is Call of the Phantoms, and this character, I'm gonna say all the characters interact other than the novella have interacted and been in the entire series. I love that because then I've gotten what's happened to them after in a very cohesive way. The city of Tau has been a secret until now. As a genetic experiment and personal guard to one of the originals, Alexa has always known her purpose: keep her original safe, ensure the city of Tau remains hidden amongst the depths of the ocean, and destroy any and all Udine who try to make those jobs difficult. Fortis has always known he was going to die early. His wife has seen a prophecy of his death in great detail, so he knows the exact moment he will expire, which meant he wasn't afraid. Fate cannot be changed, not even by the warrior woman who captures his attention. After all, he knows the hour and circumstance of his death. So Fortis is from the Abyss clan. So there are different Udine clans in this world. And the three male leads from the first three books are from a different clan. Fortis is from the Abyss clan, so they highly believe in prophecy. Everything Fortis has done since his deceased wife told him this prophecy was to get to the end so he could be with her. So it is a second chance romance changing the society a whole, because the whole series has led up to coming to this city. And Alexa is a genetic modified human who doesn't have control in that city. She's very numb to her emotions, and when she interacts with Fortis, she starts to feel. And they create a development. They go hardcore, and it is their story. I will have to say, if you watch the vlog, if you see me in like talking about the novella and book one, I cried in book one because it was a reread, but it meant so much more because you know what happens in the novella. I could not stop crying for that update, but there was portions of Call of the Phantoms I could not stop crying because I was like, the prophecy, everything. I was crying and laughing. Emma Hamm is brilliant, and I'm so excited she moved the release date to December 5th. So, because I was just going to end on book 4 being yesterday's vlog. That was it. And read the last, but no, I get to have a whole series vlog for Bookmas, and it makes me very excited to finish a series before the end of the year that I have loved. I think Fortis and Alexa's characters, because it was kind of like good, because when you start the series, you have younger characters, and Fortis is an older male Udine, and you have Alexa, who's been around for a very long time. And it's just interesting how each like mentality each character has had in this book has been such a masterpiece. Then I read, and this is the 3-star, but I really can't even remember what Bookmas Day video what. Oh, it was for Bookmas Day 10. Pine Creek Lodge by Lynette McCoran. Working through Christmas isn't exactly Natalie Bergman's idea of a holiday cheer with her family. Bakery struggling after a devastating fire. She'll do whatever it takes to help. As a chalet girl at the upscale Pine Creek Lodge, she's used to catering to the wealthy of Aspen, but nothing prepares her for Sophia Holloway, the stunning tech CEO who arrives alone, armed with a frosty Daymar. I'm gonna say frosty personality. A determined a determination to avoid all things festive. As a snowstorm traps them together in Colorado mountains, Nat discovers there's more to Sophia than her icy exterior. Suggests between rescue missions involving an abandoned kitten, sharing bottles of wine, and the kind of conversations that last until dawn. The walls between guest and staff begin to crumble, and Nat knows better than to fall for a guest, especially one out of her league. But when what starts as a cold shoulder turns into a warm embrace, and she breaks her one cardinal rule to never get cozy with clientele. In a town where temperatures may be sub-zero, but the romance is red hot, Pine Creek Lodge proves that, like a perfectly baked sourdough, just needs the right ingredients to rise. Because I talked a lot of detail about this, I'm only going to give some things. I think what kind of broke it down, even though I did enjoy it when I was reading this book, I would take days in between and read something else for different projects. I was not motivated to keep reading. Like when I was in it, I was enjoying it, but not enough to want to physically finish the book in one go. So it was a 3 star. Did enjoy it. It is cute. No, I want to read more from the author, but it just wasn't enough. Like I did not want to get back into it. It wasn't lower than a 3. The writing was good. Maybe I said this in a couple other wrap ups and bookmas vlogs. It needed to be bigger because you only read from Natalie's perspective. I think maybe a couple chapters, even just like with Sophia, to get into Sophia's mindset would have helped it, in my opinion. That's all. I did enjoy it though. Let me get to the next one. So this I read for the same vlog. So we have, and I believe, yeah, this one was a 5 star. Probably a 4.5. Some women discover themselves in their 20s. Stella Monroe is doing it at 42 during the premenopause. While trapped in a mountain cabin with an editor who asks too many questions and makes her feel things she spent 2 decades pretending doesn't exist, the manuscript was supposed to be her masterwork. 20 years of research on performative femininity on the mask women wear to survive. Instead, it becomes evidence of her own carefully constructed life, the marriage she endured, the desire she buried, and the person she never let herself be. Then Jade Aldna arrives with the ridiculous Christmas decorations, her unshakable optimism, and her ability to see straight through every defense Stella's ever built. Suddenly, the book isn't the only thing unraveling. They have to they have until December 24th to finish the manuscript. 8 days of forced proximity, intelligent sparring, and a chemistry that makes Stella carefully order world impossibly small. 8 days to decide whether academic success matters more than the kind of want that changes everything. A low angst, high heat, sapphic Christmas romance about second chances, unexpected desires, and finding love when you weren't looking for it. Sorry, I just accidentally exited a tab that I really shouldn't have. So, Natalie and Jade are very different. There is an age gap, but I enjoyed it. It was enough. I felt like with the dual's perspective of it, I got all I wanted from it. I got from the cozy vibes, the festive vibes, and discovering yourself later in life to falling in love and working. And it was like a healthy relationship, and it had a lots of ups and downs, and it was good. And I gave it a 5 star. Really 4.5, but we're gonna round it up for 5 stars. It was a good time, and if you want to hear more of my thoughts on that, go to day 10 of Bookmas. So, I live in Utah, and this is a big key way that the scandal on TikTok of the Mormon wives, the swingers. I became obsessed with their reality show, and they're all really great. And it's so different to like those. It was on the news. That is more shocking in itself. Sorry we got interrupted. There is nothing I could do on that front, but as I was saying, let me turn back on the Kindle. So I got obsessed with The Secret Life of Mormon Wives. It was all over the news channels here. The Hulu got the reality show, and I was obsessed. And I loved it. But I really loved Macy Neely and her story. And she did talk about it on the show, but listening to her audiobook, there was moments I cried because there's a lot of things like you don't I'm not Mormon. I don't know all this. And then when she talked about her culture and things that happened to her because of her choices, it was interesting. I gave it a 5 star. Macy Neely and the Woman Mom Talk burst into the center of the pop culture world when the Hulu's Secret Lives of Mormon Wives took the world by storm. But the show barely scratches the surface on Macy's personal story, from being a mom at 20 to losing her son's father in a tragic accident to going back to college as a single mother. She's only given us glimpses of the challenging things she's been going through. Now, finally, she's ready to tell us everything. It In this inspiring, dark, funny memoir, Macy lifts the veil for readers on what's growing up Mormon is really like, and how strict standards completely blow up for many young people when they get to college. When Macy arrives at BYU on a tennis scholarship, she's unprepared for to manage the temptation she's been taught. Where since she found herself drinking too much, stuck in an abusive relationship, and on the verge of falling down a dark, dangerous path, suddenly she was pregnant at 19, mourning a boyfriend she's been building a future with. Macy captures the period from college to adulthood with brutal honesty, grace, and humor, offering up a heartfelt portrait of a woman finding her voice and the trials led to her current love story, her journey with IVF, and of course the story of Mom Talk. Fans looking for a juicy play-by-play on the group drama will get everything they want and then some. But more than anything, readers will walk away with a sense of confidence in themselves and an ability to wear scars proudly. So Macy's story was inspiring. She got pregnant young while she was at BYU. She talks her experiences of being an athlete at BYU, the culture there, the honor code, having to confess to the bishop to hopefully get back into BYU, and then it talks about her depression after the loss of the father of her son and everything, all the grief and her abusive relation. I cried mostly during her college years before she got pregnant with her son, because the abusive relationship and the fear she had, especially with the BYU honor code, that's insane. I BYU is such a strict Mormon school, and she was on scholarship. She had to follow by the honor code. It is so hard to get into BYU if you are not a Mormon in this state. That it was very interesting, or have a connection to like a sports or things like that. BYU is actually a great school, but it is more mostly a Mormon college here, and it to hear her experiences was very eye-opening in this state. So I definitely gave her 5 stars. And I did listen to another memoir, but so I also read a novella between memoirs called Longing for the Minotaur. Valentina has always had a complicated relationship with Baron, the son of the Minotaur woman her father married. He is drop dead gorgeous, full of himself. Football runs in his blood, even though he was instrumental in misery and bullying that were her high school years. Val has always held a torch, and now in college, she finally moved on from her childhood crush. Though she tries to hide it, Baron has hungered after Valentina for too long. She has consumed his every thought for years, and as they put the distance between them, when the dam breaks and the truth emerges, will Baron and Valentina burning cravings finally erupt. So it's stepbrother setting, holiday setting, and it's by Lyona Riley, and I've read a lot of her novellas, monster novellas, and even just novellas. They're really good. They intrigue me. Sometimes they're a hit, sometimes they're a miss. I think the lowest I've given some is 3 stars, but I enjoy her writing whole. It's small, it gets me reading, and it's very good. I've purchased a lot of her books. So the last memoir I read is My Good Side by Sheena Shea. Vanderpump Rules is a very beloved show that I watched when I was in high school, and it was interesting to hear her account of a lot of stuff on the reality show and things before the reality show. Before 11 seasons of the record breaking TV, Sheena thought was spinning on to the Real Housewives spin-off show Vanderpump Rules was a stepping stone to search reaching her reaching her ultimate goal of becoming a successful actress in Hollywood. But from the very first season, Vanderpump Rules pit Sheena against her fellow castmates. Barbs were thrown, friendships were dissolved, Sheena was left in the rubble, trying to praise the fact from fiction. On camera, she got used to being called every name in the book. From homewrecker to pick me up bad friend, but off camera, she's always been a different side of Sheena, pieces of her couldn't share or that were trimmed, or the tidy 40 minutes. So we keep getting interrupted. I don't even know where I let off. I don't know. We will see. All right. Let's see. I think I was on this paragraph. On camera, she's used to being called every name in the book, from homewrecker me to a pick me and a bad friend, but off camera, there's always been a different side of Sheena. Pieces of her she couldn't share on screen, or that were trimmed out of her tidy 40-minute episodes. In My Good Side, Sheena pulls back the layers of who she really is and shares all her sides of her, the good, the bad, and the messy, bringing readers on a wild nostalgia trip through the earlier days of Vanderpump Rules, while recounting jaw-dropping stories from her Hollywood Black Book, including setting records straight on her relationship with Eddie. She reveals her outlook on love has evolved and led her to her daughter she was told she may never have, from being bullied as a kid to being bullied by the witches of WeHo. Sheena has seen it all. Together, she and her fans will laugh, cry, and reminisce on the dramas and heartbreak and celebrations over the years. All right, I gave it a 4 star. The audiobook was great. Her story was great to hear. I will have to say I hate reality TV Sheena. There were moments on Vanderpump Rules I did love her. I love Sheena from her podcast. I think her podcast is amazing, and she is so incisive on that. Her stories, like, they did break my heart. But I think a lot in the media, from if you've watched Bravo and you've watched them talk about this book, she had stories where she was kind of like, yes, I would have preferred this, like, highlighting her. I loved highlighting a lot of stuff, but it's like she had to throw people under the bus to get certain. I felt like that. Other people have felt like that, where she's thrown people under the bus to, or like mention things. I think the Sheena I love is when she is on the podcast, when she's being truthful from her experience. Even the shade of the witches of WeHo, there's both sides of the relationship. I've seen both, and like even listening to other people's podcasts who were on Vanderpump Rules and their takes on situations. So I'm seeing all of it, but Sheena has a side, and she has talked about this, where if they hurt her, she tends to throw them under the bus. And I did see some of it in this book. And it was interesting to hear about her childhood, her interesting days, her early days in before Vanderpump, when she did episodes on the hills and things like that, and her acting gigs, and a lot of like stuff was never talked on the show. I found it interesting because I did not even hear about this podcast, where I guess a Vanderpump producer liked to give her cringy edits and they admitted to it. So it makes a lot of sense of, especially on the season I really didn't like her. I she became more human towards me. in this book and her podcast too, because you hear more of her pregnancy or her pregnancy OCD and her struggles with fertility and a lot of the stuff. But I feel like her podcast humanized her for me, and I love her take on her podcast. I don't like the take on reality TV, but it did lead me to see her content, and all things aside, 4 stars. And I hope she writes another book in a couple years and we get another update. I'd like that. Yes, I listen to her podcast, so I will get updates, but there's a lot of stuff that I'd love to hear more about. Hopefully, we talk about it on she talks about it on the podcast. So that is it for day 19 of Bookmas, and total of 10 books read in November and 2,077 pages read. So I'm happy with that amount, and I will see you tomorrow for day Bookmas 20. We're almost there. We're almost at the end. And I have to say, yes, I've already filmed my favorites of the year video. None of the November, because that wasn't done, and I was going to wait till the end of the month for November, but I had to film it. I will have to say, all of it was good. I couldn't tell you a favorite because Echoes of the Tides, even Calls of Found and Corrupt Shadows, those were some of my favorites. But the memoirs, At Least Told You So by Macy, especially because I lived in Utah, I've seen some of the things with the Mormon culture, but to hear it from her experience and her story, masterpiece. Well, like I said, I'll see you tomorrow, and if you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Bye for now.